What's up, everybody? It's your friend Mark Walberg. Another episode of the Bonfire Talks podcast. Ready to go. Not exactly sure what's going to come out of my mouth, but let's ride the wave together. And over there, forced to be here with me today, is my friend and producer, Kaylin Bean. Hello, Kaylin.
Hello.
That was a funny hello. Mm-hmm. How many podcasts have you engineered / produced this week?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot. I mean, just engineered, I think this might be 4 or 5, but if you take into account the editing, closer to 10.
That's insane.
Yeah. That
you're able to make it seem like you care about our podcast really is a gift you give me. I appreciate it.
Oh, this is a much more entertaining podcast than a lot of other ones that I do. So
please don't check credits to see who those people are, because they could use. But by the way, those other ones that are less entertaining than this one, all sponsored. All of them have sponsors and scads of followers. I, however, apparently from Kaylin's words, very entertaining, and yet completely self-funded. I'm like the PBS of podcasts right now. The government has not funded me. I depend on viewer support and generous donors like me. But as a public service, I am thrilled to be your host for Bonfire Talks podcast, coming to you live from our palatial, undisclosed location studio. So, I've been pretty busy, buddy, because, I haven't worked for most of the year, and then it all happens like in like a 4-week, 5-week span where I was shooting Temptation Island. I come back from Temptation Island. I went on a road with Wheel of Fortune. Now I got to go to New York. All this will have happened by the time you see this. So, again, there's a matrix way of approaching the chronology of the stuff I talk about. I'll get to the part that is not time sensitive in a moment. But off to New York with Robbie. Oh, this is kind of funny. With Robbie to go to New York to promote this movie I'm in, Lost and Found in Cleveland, in theaters now. Although by the time this airs, which is like mid-November, it may have come and gone at that point. Not sure. Starts November 7th, but check your local listings. It's a cute movie. You can bring the kids. It's lovely, and I'm in it. I've got a scene with John Lovitz. That's pretty funny. By the way, you know what my character name is? Did I tell you this?
No.
So the movie, Lost and Found in Cleveland, coming to theaters November 7th, is sort of a send-up and a loving homage to Antiques Roadshow a little bit. Lost and Found is a televised antiques appraisal TV show that's in Cleveland for this week on the movie. And all these different people are bringing items in to have appraised, and each one of those stories becomes a story of something bigger than the item. I play the host of the show, as I did in real life, and my character name, I said okay to, but now I cringe every time I say it. Tom L. Hanks. Get the joke?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little nod to the Mark Wahlberg confusion.
Right.
For those of you who didn't get it immediately, because it's pretty much right on the nose. Anyway, so that's cool. Doing all that. Then I'm going back on the road. Then it's holiday time, and we're going to chill. And it's going to be weird this year, because I think I'll have Morgan close by, but I don't think Goldie's coming home for Christmas, because I think they're going to Europe. So, whatever, Gold. By the way, for those of you who are familiar with my daughter, and I told you I got a shout-out.
Yeah.
Somebody had listened to the podcast and knows Goldie. Goldie, a.k.a. Lazy Ballerina Club, now has an agent for social media.
Oh, wow.
And is getting invited places and getting sent stuff. So from a father who loves his daughter and to her success in the same field that I'm attempting, fuck you, Gold. I say that with love. We have a phrase in my house that my son's best friend growing up was this guy, Kevin Lewis, who was the sweetest kid you'll ever meet. And
no,
now,
I went to school with him.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Oh, my God. I forgot.
He was in my class.
Holy shit. That's so funny to me. So Kevin Lewis and Morgan are polar opposites. Morgan's this big bruiser of a dude. Kevin's this small guy. Morgan's like, wants to drive a truck would be his dream. And Kevin is a urologist who was at the Cleveland Clinic and is now in Boca Raton, just so successful. Oncology urologist, saving lives every day. Why did I bring up Kevin? What were we talking about that Kevin came up? I just lost my train of thought. We're talking about Goldie, influencer. Oh, and I said, fuck you, Goldie. That's what it is. So Kevin's mom and dad, who I adore, are like just straight, like responsible adults. She's a teacher. He's an accountant. They manage their money. They don't say inappropriate things around their children. They coach sports. They're just mom and dad, right? That kind of thing. So it's been a running joke. And Kevin's father's name is Joe, right? And the running joke is every time I say something like, fuck you, Goldie, to my own daughter, it's like a topic that both my kids say, things that you never hear Joe Louis say. So that's basically a litany of inappropriate things that come out of my mouth that a loving parent with any semblance of boundary would not say. But it's who I am. Spindrift does not sponsor my podcast, but is delicious. So if you'd like to, again, public service, if you'd like to enjoy the Spindrift, please feel free. Because I'm giving you a plug for free. That's awful. Which I can say because they don't sponsor the podcast. So, fuck you, Spindrift. There you go. Just kidding. Love you. Except this flavor. All right, so today, let's see if we can salvage what's left of this episode and leave with something that'll leave you thinking about a new concept or something you had overlooked that might make your day a little bit better. More importantly, make the people around you feel better about you. Okay? I have two brother-in-laws. I have Buck Dial Gary, who we've yet to meet. Crazy. I have another brother-in-law, Roger. He is a spiritual guru. He's also crazy, but aren't we all? But he has dedicated his life, like my friend Pat Finn, Roger dedicated his life in the work of self-expression, emotional intelligence, breaking through the things in our lives as humans that hold us back and creating a future that's exciting and full out. So that's kind of what he's about. And you can just imagine the conversations he and I engage in all the time. But we don't always agree on things and philosophy, but we have a very open, aggressive conversation, roll up your sleeves. He's one of the people in my sphere that educates me. Occasionally I get the opportunity to be the educator, but often I'm the educatee. And I talk about this all the time. I talked about it in the last episode I just did. I'm going to talk about it again, that there are things about us that are great, that we don't have triggers about, where we are fully functional, where we kill it. Kaylin kills it on many levels, but apparently you've broken through what it takes to be a leader in the podcast field, right? But there are things about all of us, things that I do that are great, that nobody can touch me on, that I'm able to do. And there are things about me that no matter what I do, I can't seem to break through to be, to stop being a victim of my own insanity from time to time. And one of the places that I struggle with, which I've shared with you all, is my vacillating degree of self-worth or lack thereof, which sometimes translates into being dominating as a know-it-all, needing to be right all the time, be right. Actually, I call him actually man. That other person is actually man. We've talked about it. Where you say something, I go, well, actually, it's not true. Pyramids were not built then. They're, whatever. And I don't even need to know what I'm talking about to say I know what I'm talking about. And I'm a good bullshitter, so I make it sound really good and people believe it. But more importantly, where it lives for us often is when other people are going through stuff and we take on their shit as though it is ours. And we forget to realize that nobody asked us to do it. So the phrase that Roger said to me when I was going off on somebody about how they should be different and how I need to tell them and this needs to happen, blah, 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 blah. And he said to me, you could quit that job. And I'm like, what do you fucking mean, Raj? And shut up. He says, you can quit that job. I said, what job? He said, well, the job of being right about that. You can quit that job. So my question to you, my dear, dear bonfire friends, as we sit around the glowing fire of this bonfire, I'd like to paint a picture. It's like radio, theater of the mind, is what jobs are you doing that nobody hired you to do, and at the end of the year, you don't get a W-2, so you haven't earned anything from doing that job, and yet you work tirelessly as though you have to do that job. When I teased this topic in a couple episodes ago, I talked about the character in Office Space who continues to work and is always yelling about the stapler. I kept the stapler. That guy, and no one told him to be there. He doesn't even have a job, but he somehow his day is full of doing something that matters to him at this job that no one asked him to do. May not be an accurate analogy or metaphor, but my point is there, if you look at it, which I'm inviting you to do today, there are not one, but several places in your life where you would tell me if I asked you, or let me turn it back on me, that I would tell you if you asked me, it is my duty, my job, it is on my plate to handle this business. I'm talking about in relationship, in life, in parenting, in work, not actual business. You get what I'm talking about. And I would tell you unequivocally that if I don't do this, bad things would happen. But when you really look at it, nobody asked me to do those things. Nobody put it on my plate. I took it. And nobody's paying me for the work that I think I'm doing. And consequently, the work I think I'm doing isn't helping anybody except leaving me feeling frustrated and underappreciated for the work that I tirelessly am doing to make you a better person that you didn't ask me to do. And then I beat my head against the wall. Why are you not receiving the coaching I'm giving you? When I don't realize that you never fucking asked me to help you. And no one hired me to do this job. So the point of this conversation is to stop life for a moment and start asking some questions, which, by the way, is a good process to do and practice to do in general. Because the difference between you and me and the other schmucks out there is that we are still willing to be a student where others think they've learned everything. Okay? So as long as you stay hungry and aware that you are a work in progress and there's no limit to what you can learn about you to be happier and to make the people around you happier, or allow the people around you to be happier, not make them happier, the better chance you have of living a blissful life, which is, I think if you go back to the very first introductory episode I did of this podcast, I said something like the whole goal is to laugh more and worry less. That's it. Okay? So what I'm telling you to do right now is to take a gigantic load that you think is take a gigantic load. That sounds like poop stuff, which also feels great. Man. And you're not going to edit it out either. You're just going to leave that. You're going to leave that may be.
I might even clip it.
I was about to say that's going to be the fucking thumbnail of this episode. Your plate is full, you're overwhelmed, you're tired, you're stressed, which makes you resentful, angry, and difficult to be with. And I'm suggesting that on your plate are at least 5 jobs that you don't have to do. There's a much easier way to say this, which leads to millions of dollars, which Mel Robbins has said. Let them. That's her phrase. It's brilliant. I don't even need to hear her talk about it because I haven't even listened to a full Mel Robbins episode. But the concept of let them is unfucking believable. And what I'm talking about is very similar. Let them is what happens after you quit the job. Because the job, especially as parents, if I don't do X, Y, and Z, then A, B, and C will happen. So I, therefore, have taken on the job of doing X, Y, and Z instead of letting A, B, and C happen and letting those chips fall where they fall so that person gets the benefit of having a lesson. I can remember saying to my own kids when they were younger, and I wasn't making a joke. I wasn't being facetious. I said, if you would just listen to me and do what I tell you, you will have so much less pain and be so much more successful so quickly. And then I realized, why would I rob them of the experience of pain, love lost, mistakes, failure, successes, bruises, bumps, all the things that made me who I am? Why would I rob them of that experience by trying to show them a shortcut that they didn't ask me for? Why don't you just let them fall down and they realize, oh, maybe I should hold on, tighter when I'm climbing a tree. Again, a metaphor. If you don't let people do their thing, and I've watched parents do this with their toddlers, we get to the point where, God forbid, anybody gets a scrape or a bump. And, you do want to protect your children from pain. But I've watched what I think are evolved, enlightened parents watch their kids do some stupid things, knowing what the outcome will be, and letting them do it, and then discussing what's to be learned from it. In love relationship, in adult relationship, we're constantly managing the other person. And there's two problems with that. One is it's ineffective, just ineffective. It comes from, this is a tenet of Al-Anon, it comes from a place of love. You think you're helping. It really comes from a beautiful, loving place, but it feels like domination. It feels like you're imposing your will on a situation. And it's not received with the love that it's meant. So I just want to let you know that all of us who've taken on jobs that we've never been hired to do, we didn't do it begrudgingly. We did it out of love. We do it out of love over and over again. We think this is how we love. But I'm telling you, a less stressed version of you, a happier version of you, is far more valuable to the people in your life than your unsolicited advice and control over their lives that comes from a loving place. Quit the job. Don't do it. You're not hired. You're not on the payroll. No one asked you to work here. Let their business fail. It won't fail, but let it go a way other than what you think is best for them. Let it go. I'm going to say it again. Let it go in a direction other than what you think and know in your heart is best for them, unless they ask you for help. Because the amount of energy that I spend trying to manage those around me so that they're happier is an enormous amount of energy that's usually met with, why don't you shut the fuck up and let me do what I'm going to do? I'll give you an example of where it lives in my life. I think, to blow my own horn, I think I'm a good communicator. I have words. I have the ability to listen when I'm in a good place to other people and speak to what actually is the clearest path of understanding between the two of us. Not always the case, but that's something I would think is an asset of mine if I were to blow my own horn. That was me blowing my own horn. But the dark side of that is when my wife is on the phone with any service person or any business or any other person, and I'm in the room, it's hard for me not to literally speak over her from the room while she's on the phone to tell her what to say to make it better. You're not listening. She said this. You need to say that. Hang up the phone. That's enough. Well, whatever. And I think I'm helping her avoid trouble by managing her communication. And then she said it so beautifully. She said, I'm as old as you are, and I've been communicating on my own for my whole life, and I've done just fine. To which, my ego is like, yeah, but you haven't done it right. You're not really communicating clearly. You didn't really listen. And if you don't listen, she's going to think this. And if she thinks that, she's going to respond this way, and you're not going to get the thing you wanted, and there's a quicker way, and I can show you. And guess what? I could be right about procuring the prescription from your insurance company, and the woman won't listen to you. If you were to follow my rules, I could get you there quicker. But you didn't ask me, and why don't I just let you take longer and more work to get your prescription? Because here's what it is. When we manage other people without being asked to manage, we're basically saying, I don't respect you enough. I don't think you're smart enough or have the tools enough to handle your own life. And that's condescending. I know that's certainly not where I'm coming from when I do it, which I do all the time. And I know that's not where you're coming from when you take on things like your daughter's choices of boyfriends, or your son's amount of time he's spending playing video games. I don't know. These are bad examples. Or your wife's, whatever. Whatever the thing is that you think you're helping by taking on and managing for them the thing that you don't think they're capable of doing, you're basically saying, hey, person I love, I don't think you're capable. You're kind of less of a person than I am. Now, where's the healthy version of that? When they ask you for help. Then you get to be their hero. But anything other than that is unsolicited, unwelcomed, makes you look like an asshole, and is simply ineffective. At the very least, it brings up I always get stuck on this word, the hackles, not the shackles, the hackles of your neck of resistance to what you have to say, because they get defensive. Because you've basically said, I don't think you're strong enough to handle this information. I'll run it for you, which makes them go, well, fuck you. What do you mean? And then they get defensive, and then you're a breakdown of conversation. So make a list. Or at least, this is the thing I always talk about here, is that I don't really believe that we as humans have the capacity to actually change too much about who we've decided we're going to be. But what we can do is become present to who we're being, so that we can start to exercise the muscle of choosing a different way of being when our way of being shows up. So the need to be right guy shows up, Mr. Actually. I need to exercise the muscle of how quickly I can recognize my behavior that I'm doing that. How quickly do I see, wait a minute, I'm being that dude again, and then make a correction. And the speed at which I recognize me being that and then address it is what I consider to be growth. Not, I no longer do this. You understand? We're going to be thrown to do the things we do for the rest of our lives. When I say be thrown, that means pulled to do something that we don't feel like we have control over. So I don't think we make a shift. And this stands in the face of what I've been taught, where they tell you can complete on the past so it doesn't show up for you in the future. I have not been successful with that. I don't think it's true. I think whatever our triggers are that we decided were going to be our thing when we were 3 or 4, 5, 6, 10 years old, I think they live with us. I don't think they go away. I just don't think they do. I think the speed at which we are able to identify when they're taking over running the show, as opposed to our adult mind running the show, the speed at which we can be aware or become present to our behavior and then choose a different way of being, that's something we can do. So that's what I'm asking you to do, is be aware of something you may not have ever looked at before, but you've complained about a lot. You may never have looked at before the fact that you resent having to do all of these things for other people. That part you may have looked at. What you haven't looked at is no one asked you to do it, and yet you're holding them responsible in resentment for the work you have to do because they're flawed. They can't handle it. And quoting my brother Roger, nobody has to do the job. Quit. Put in notice right now. Quit the job. And you have to remind yourself regularly, oh shit, I just clocked in again. I clocked in to this job that I'm not on the payroll for. And we do it all day long, everywhere we go. Spindrift. Delicious. So, hey, can you think of anything? Can you think of something that a better way to do it is if you think of the people in your life that you're frustrated by or have resentment towards or feel like they're a drain on your energy and have maybe secretly fantasized, I wish they weren't like that so I don't have to do X, Y, and Z. Have you ever flipped it and said, what if I let them be who they are and I don't have to do anything about it? Let the train run off the tracks. Let it go. Mel Robbins, let them be who they are going to be. Let the situations be whatever those situations will be. By the way, I'm pretending that I didn't just burp into the mic. It happened. You heard it. Thank you, Spindrift, sponsor of the Bonfire Talks podcast. I'm manifesting. Let it be messy. Let the uncomfortable feeling you feel that draws you. It's that commercial about we've become our parents, and he's trying to coach them, please. I love that commercial. You know what commercial I'm talking about, Kaylin?
No.
Yeah, it's an insurance commercial where now that you have insurance, you start to become your parents.
Oh, yeah.
I love it because I'm that dude all over the place. Yeah. But that's actually a very good example of doing shit no one asked you to do. But you feel compelled, obsessively compelled to handle this business because it makes you feel more in control and you think you're doing the best thing for other people, but you're not doing anything for anybody except imposing your will on them and, more importantly, making it a burden on your own life, which you then in turn start to internalize and resent the other people for making you do these things they don't need you to do, relationship-wise. So quit it. And help me quit it too. Because it's so easy in the moment to get caught up in it. And it shows up everywhere. Like literally driving on the freeway and somebody's making a wrong turn and, they're breaking like the flow of the traffic. And you want to honk at them and tell them, hey, let me explain how this works. But you're not helping. They're not going to hear you. And it's not your job. Just let them make the wrong turn. Be patient. Calm down. Take it off your plate. Quit the job. Work on the things that you're supposed to work on, yourself. More energy spent on being present to your behavior and looking and asking questions about who am I being right now as opposed to who are they being right now. The introspection of going, wait a minute. And this is an old thing I had written about. I don't know how much I've shared about it is, a quick way to get to this is to ask yourself in any moment, how do I feel? And not because of what the experience is, but I feel angry, I feel frustrated, I feel resentful, I feel sad, I feel happy, whatever the feeling is, just label it, put a name on it. Because once you're in a situation and you're not aligned, you're not the best version of yourself, your ego is taken over, your bullied child is taking over, and you're feeling a certain way, you get caught up. You don't identify the feeling, you identify what's happening to cause you to feel that way, and you're just scrambling a little bit. But when you slow it down and say to yourself, what do I feel? Wait a minute, I feel frustrated. I feel unheard. Then you can slow down and go, why do I feel unheard? Then you look at the situation through the lens of not what other people are doing to you, but what is my responsibility in this feeling that I'm now feeling? And do I have to feel this way anymore? Because you'll realize if you do this, those feelings that we end up feeling of sadness and anger and resentment and fear and all those things, they're mostly self-imposed. And mostly we have a choice to feel that way or not. And quite frankly, we're kind of addicted to feeling a certain way. There's a payoff for us to be in our feelings. We like to pout. We like to be angry. It feels alive. Letting go of it, the acceptance of what is, and being in the moment and not having an attachment to all that stuff feels foreign to us as humans at first, but with exercise becomes the thing we want more of. That's what meditation promises. Transcendental meditation specifically, if you've done that training, which I have, talks about your brain working on like 3 biorhythmic wavelengths. Think of waves, right? And they're all over the place, right? And in meditation, it slows it down so that they're all kind of in sync and the line becomes a little bit more stable. Less peaks and valleys, and those 3 different wavelengths kind of meld into one sort of band of calm. But for you to be calm and to access that peacefulness would mean sometimes you're going to have to let go of the things that are making you not so peaceful. Not fixing those things so that you can be peaceful. You get the difference? You feel upset because X, Y, and Z is happening around you with people other than you that are going in your world, and you feel upset, unsettled, angry, frustrated, anxious, whatever the feeling is. And our tendency is saying, well, then if I jump in and take on that job to fix these things, then I'm going to feel peaceful. But if you quit the job and just go to the peaceful part, let that be that. But the choice of just accepting things as they are, and as they are is just fine with you, and not feeling the need to take them on, that's where peaceful lives. And then you're open for, if those things are out of control and ask for your help, then you get to do the job you were just hired to do because they asked you. And then you feel like you're being of service. Instead of the general feeling of, I'm being of service and nobody appreciates it and nobody's changing and I'm having to work extra hard to fix that. So don't work so hard. So that's it. I'm going to quit this topic now. But you can quit the jobs you're not hired to do right now, and you can access being peaceful and happier and laughing more and worrying less by simply quitting those jobs you're not supposed to do. And I promise you, those people that you're so busy managing that need your help, that they haven't asked for but need you, I promise they're still going to be okay even without you doing the job. Take your stapler, go home, clock out. You don't work here anymore. Okay. That's it for today. What's our new sign off? Oh, I got it. See ya. Love ya. No, there's 3 of them. What was it?
Goodbye?
Yeah. See ya. Love you. Goodbye.